Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is Game 10 of the Premier League season. This is a prediction show, so without further ado, let's begin. We begin with what is arguably the Premier League saving its best game for last, as Tottenham Hotspurs host Premier League leaders Manchester City. Tottenham have put together some good league form as of late, with 4 wins on the bounce, with their latest victory coming in the form of a 1-0 win against West Ham last Saturday. But midweek they did suffer a huge setback in the Champions League, in which they drew 2-2 with Ajax thanks to a late equaliser and Hugo Lloris's red card. As for City, with the Liverpool fixture aside, they've enjoyed a favourable run as of late, and it's been a run that has seen the defending champions score plenty of goals, with their latest victims being Burnley, who they smashed 5-0 last weekend. Tottenham will be looking to keep the pressure on those in the top 4, while City will be looking to keep up their title defence. With Liverpool playing a much more favourable game this weekend against Cardiff, they lay down the challenge first to City before kick-off on Monday night. Should they win, of course. And whilst Tottenham haven't been at their best this season, they have the players capable of winning big games like this, such as Christian Eriksen or Harry Kane. So this one will be a very interesting fixture. Nevertheless, I would expect City to win here. I wouldn't expect City to blow away their opponents like they have been doing in recent weeks, but I would expect them to endure a good win with the likes of Sergio Aguero and David Silva on the score sheet. I'm going to go with a 3-1 City victory here. Next, we come to Liverpool, who are hosting Cardiff this weekend. So far, Liverpool have matched Manchester City every step of the way, and the Reds find themselves second by only goal difference. Last week, they were involved in a not-so-convincing 1-0 win over Huddersfield, in which Mohamed Salah got the only goal of the game. And midweek, he got a couple more goals, as Liverpool strolled to victory against Red Star Belgrade in a 4-0 win. And in that game, there were signs that Liverpool were beginning to rediscover their clinical and lethal touch that saw them endure a goals fest of a season last year. As for Cardiff, they finally picked up their first win of the season last week against Fulham, where they came from behind to win 4-2. And the question for Neil Warnock's side here is, could they cause an upset? As I touched upon, Liverpool was showing signs of the Liverpool of last year through their performance against Red Star Belgrade on Wednesday night. And whilst, yes, it is against a considered smaller opposition, but this time last year, Liverpool were not as lethal as we know that they can be, until they struck 7 against Maribor, of course. So these games can have an effect on players to kick on their season despite the level of opposition. Question is, can they keep it up here? I cannot see anything other than a Liverpool victory. Even if Liverpool turn up and play how they have been doing for most of this season, they should still get the 3 points here and put on a little pressure to Manchester City before they even play on Monday night. I'm going to go with a 4-0 win here, with Salah, Mane and Firmino among the goals like they were on Wednesday night. Next, we come to Chelsea's trip to Burnley. Last week, these two sides didn't have the best of weekends. Burnley received a right hammering from Manchester City, who put 5 goals past them, although a few may say that the result in certain places was a little bit controversial. Whilst Chelsea needed a 96-minute equaliser from Ross Barkley to rescue a point against Manchester United, who came from behind to lead in that game. The draw meant that Chelsea lost a little ground on their nearest rivals in Liverpool and City, in what was a below-par performance by their standard. They'll be looking to bounce back this weekend against Sean Dyche's side for sure. The Blues need to bounce back, whilst Burnley will be out to cause an upset. Burnley are very capable of doing this, but their form in recent weeks has suggested that maybe it won't happen in this game. I can only see this game going one way, and that's in the favour of Maurizio Sarri's side. And unfortunately for Burnley, they could be on the receiving end of another thrashing. That will make it 2 thrashings in a row. As for the prediction, I'm going to go with a 3-0 Chelsea win here, and I expect Hazard to put in a strong performance following his disappointing one last weekend, and get back on the score sheet in the process. Next, we come to a team lacking both form and goals, as they play host to the Premier League's most informed team right now, as Crystal Palace take on Arsenal. Palace have only scored 5 goals this season and find themselves in 15th, 2 points clear of the relegation zone. And last weekend they were on the receiving end of a 2-0 defeat against Everton. As for Arsenal, 7 wins on the bounce in the Premier League and 11 wins in a row in all competitions have made the Emirates a much more happier place to be in recent weeks. They've scored some superb goals both in terms of individual and team goals and have been great to watch in general. They'll not only be looking to make it 12 wins in a row, but also they'll be looking up the table as they'll be looking to keep up the pressure on the teams above them, and as they could possibly finish the weekend anywhere between 1st and 3rd depending on other results, and of course if they win. Arsenal don't have a watertight defence, but right now Palace aren't taking their chances when they fall to them. They don't seem to have a clinical goal scorer that's going to get them that 12 plus goals tally that you're looking for, and a lot of pressure has fallen on the shoulders of Wilfried Zaha, who may be considering his options as far as where his future lies in the not too distant future. As far as Arsenal go, some good performances and some top quality goals to boot, along with a streak of 11 wins on the bounce. Could they make it 12 this weekend? Personally, I cannot see anything more or anything less than an Arsenal victory. Their firepower up front of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alexander Lacazette are strong enough alone. Add Mesut Ozil to that, who will be looking for a similar performance to the one he put in against Leicester on Monday night, and Palace look on paper as if they will be struggling before a ball is even kicked. The Gunners to win 4-0 here is my prediction. Next we come to Fulham, who host high-flying Bournemouth this weekend as 18th meets 6th in the Premier League. Fulham are in a bit of a awkward, bad situation right now. They've only won once all season. They are prone to many defensive errors and most of the time are the makers of their own downfall, let's be honest. Last week they were given a task of bottom of the table Cardiff and ended up losing 4-2. As for Bournemouth, they've performed very well this season but had a little bit of an off day against Southampton last weekend in a game that ended 0-0 with the Saints having the better of the chances. They'll be hoping to return to winning ways this weekend and will be looking for the likes of Josh King and Callum Wilson in order to help them do it. Bournemouth will be looking to apply a little bit of pressure to 5th place Tottenham and keep up their start to the season that has seen them rise to 6th with 17 points. With Spurs playing City this weekend, it's a difficult game for them, and the favourable tie surely sees Bournemouth have the advantage. And if things go to plan for Eddie Howe's side, they can close the gap on Tottenham to just a single point between them. For Fulham, alarm bells should be ringing. They are so unorganised defensively and are making so many mistakes off their own back that teams are beginning to well and truly exploit this. Things need to start picking up for them, and they need to start learning from their mistakes. Otherwise, it will only get worse from here, and with some big fixtures coming up, they need to be ready. Otherwise, an early relegation battle will truly be on their hands. However, having said that, I'd not only expect Bournemouth to win here, but I think they'll do it in style, taking advantage of the lack of confidence, lack of leadership, and lack of organisation that Fulham have right now. Bournemouth to win 4-1 here is what I'm going for, and you can expect King and Wilson to both be on the score sheet. Our next game sees 10th meet 8th as Jose Mourinho's Manchester United takes on Everton at Old Trafford on Sunday. United suffered a 96th minute equaliser last weekend, otherwise they would have pulled off an unlikely victory against Mourinho's former club Chelsea. But then midweek against Juventus in Champions League action, they suffered a 1-0 loss, which doesn't sound too bad, but the game was pretty much dominated in the large part by the Italian club. As for the Toffees, they've put together 3 wins in a row now and are looking to are going about their business in a quiet fashion. Last week they beat Crystal Palace 2-0 thanks to a late quick-fire double from Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Cenk Tosun, and now they face a United side whose issues have been well documented. This is always a tough fixture to call, and this game is no different. United have the players to win any game on their day, but right now only a couple of their players are performing, whilst the rest are either not good enough or being restricted in playing the way they want to. Everton can be pretty hit and miss too, but they seem more of a unit than what United do right now, and they can certainly hurt United if they get the ball down and start knocking it about. This game could surely go any way, but I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say United will be in for another 2-2 draw. Martial to once again be on the score sheet for United, whilst Richarlison will answer for the Toffees. Our next game sees West Ham travel to the East Midlands and Leicester in particular, as both sides look to get back to winning ways. Both sides haven't won in their past 2 games, and last time out, Leicester was sliced apart by Arsenal 3-1, whilst West Ham were beaten 1-0 by Tottenham in a game they might feel a little unlucky not to have got anything out of. Potential bad news ahead of kickoff, as reports are suggesting that Jamie Vardy is doubtful to play for Leicester, whilst West Ham will be without the injured Andrei Yarmolenko, who's been ruled out for 6 months. It's a big game for both sides, as I mentioned. They need to get back to winning ways just to steady things a little bit. Both have got a decent run of fixtures coming up, and it's a good time to build some momentum as we start to head into that busy winter period. If Vardy is missing, it will be a huge miss for Leicester. Of course it will be. But on the flip side, Yarmolenko is and will be a huge miss for West Ham, both now and further down the line. It's time for players like Iheanacho to step up for the Foxes, and a lot of the West Ham players as well need to step up in the absence of Yarmolenko. Leicester versus West Ham, with the players to watch being James Maddison and Marko Arnautovic for their respective teams. It's another tough one to call, but I'm going to say, not so confidently I might add, that Leicester to win 2-1 is what I'm going for, with or without Jamie Vardy. The 8th game that we're going to feature in this video is Watford versus Huddersfield, and Watford are back to winning ways and are back on the move following their slightly surprising comfortable 2-0 victory over Wolves last weekend. They'll be looking for back-to-back wins here when they face Huddersfield, a side who are hoping 10th time's the charm, as they are still in search of their first win of the league season so far. The Hornets stung Wolves twice in quick succession last week with 2 goals within a minute of each other, whilst Huddersfield put a good account of themselves up against Liverpool, an off-colour Liverpool should I add. But despite playing well and giving the Reds a little scare, they didn't come away from the game with anything other than another loss to their name. With each passing week, the pressure and the importance on each game rises for the Terriers. They showed a lot of fight last week, but they just lacked a little bit of luck and a little bit of quality when they needed it most. Will they finally get that win that they so desperately need here? Unfortunately for them, as unpredictable and as inconsistent as Watford can be, they've looked pretty good this season when it's mattered, and I'd expect the Hornets to win here. I just think their energy level and the players they've got in terms of quality are just that little bit superior, and that will be the difference maker in this game. Watford to win 2-0 and Roberto Pereira to be on the score sheet is my prediction. Next, we come to 2 more teams who are in need of points, as Southampton and Newcastle square off at St Mary's, as Newcastle are still in search of their first win of this season. The Saints go into this one in 16th with only a point separating them from the drop zone, whilst the Magpies sit rock bottom of the table with only 2 points. Scoring goals has been a real issue for both sides this season, with both teams only managing 6 goals, and there was enough evidence on show last week to know why it's been a problem for them. Newcastle took on Brighton, while Southampton faced Bournemouth, and both the Magpies and the Saints had a number of golden opportunities in their respective games to impact the game, but lacked that little bit of quality and at times the luck that they really did need. Not much needed to be said here about Newcastle that hasn't been said before. They know what they have to do, everyone else knows what they have to do, but that's the easy part. Their season began with a tough set of fixtures, but not the vast majority. Now that the vast majority of those tough games are gone, until they come round again, of course, this is now got to be a run of games in which that they are favourable to them, and they are against teams that are in and around them in the table. But the pressure is now well and truly on them, and it isn't being helped by off-the-pitch issues either. For the Saints, scoring goals is a big problem for them, we know this, but they may fancy their chances in this game to take all 3 points and try and find some form going into the busy winter period. Unfortunately for the Magpies, I don't see them winning, but on the good side, I don't see them losing either. I think the score will be 1-1 with Kennedy and Danny Ings both on the score sheet. And finally, a trip to the seaside is in order as Wolves travel to Brighton, looking to get back to winning ways after seeing their 6-game unbeaten run come to an end at the hands of Watford last week. 2 goals in quick succession were enough to see off Wolves, as Watford claimed all 3 points. whilst it was the opposite fortunes for Brighton as they were victorious against Newcastle by 1-0. It now sees Wolves sit in 9th whilst Brighton are in 12th with 2 wins on the bounce under their belts. Could they make it a 3rd, or will Wolves redeem themselves after last week's poor display? Brighton didn't create too many clear-cut chances against Newcastle last week, but still recorded a victory. It could be a similar story here. I'm not expecting them to control the game by any means, and it will be about them looking for moments within the game, particularly from set pieces. As for Wolves, I'd expect last week's performance to be just an off day for them and would expect them to win this game, but Brighton snatching a draw wouldn't surprise me either. Wolves to win 2-1 here is what I'm going for. And that rounds up the Premier League predictions for Game 10 of the season. Guys, let me know in the comment section what you predict in these games. What do you think of scores, team news, scorers even? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments, opinions in the comment section below. Otherwise, guys, hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're new or want to see more content like this. Or anything else on the channel for that matter. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League preview video, and I will speak with you all again soon in another video.